You were taught your hands were tools, made to hold, to write, to wave hello. But that was never the truth. Your hands are not tools. They are powerful transmitters, channeling intention, thought, energy, and soul. After 15 years studying energy work and ancient practices, I discovered something that transformed my understanding of human potential. From the moment you stacked blocks as a child, or reached out to catch raindrops from the sky, your hands began whispering a silent language. But the world interrupted that whisper. Keep them still. Don't touch that. Don't fidget. Sit with your hands folded. Write neatly. Don't gesture so much. Little by little, your hands were reshaped, not to express power, but to contain it, to obey, conform, and forget. I'm sharing this because I've watched too many people struggle with scattered energy, blocked potential, not realizing the solution lies, literally, in their hands. What they never told you is that your hands are not mere extensions of the body. They are extensions of consciousness itself. Every movement carries frequency. Each gesture writes code into your energy field. And when used with awareness, they don't just reflect your inner world, they shape it. The ancients understood this truth. Spiritual masters, mystics, healers. They never raised their hands to ask permission. They raised them to command energy, to summon clarity, to bridge the seen and the unseen. You didn't simply forget. You were taught to forget. And now, it's time to remember. Long before the first alphabet was etched into stone, before microscopes, machines, and electricity, there were hands, open, steady, deliberate. The ancients didn't need devices to understand energy. They didn't chase data. They listened to breath, to earth, to stillness. And through their hands, they found what modern minds are only beginning to rediscover, that the body itself is the original technology. They knew what most of us were never taught, that your hands are not just flesh and bone, they're conductors, capable of directing thought, amplifying intention, and initiating healing, not as metaphor, but as electrical truth, as spiritual law, as neural reality. In ancient texts like the Upanishads, the Karandanda Samhita, and the Tantra Shastra, you'll find no mention of algorithms, but you'll find mudras, sacred configurations of the hands, used to unlock frequencies of focus, clarity, and altered awareness. These were not decorative poses. They were architectures of energy. Each fingertip connection was a code, each angle of the wrist an intention. They were blueprints for tuning the body like an instrument, bringing it into resonance with the larger field that surrounds it. When a yogi formed Gyan Mudra, thumb and index finger joined, the rest extended. They weren't performing for spiritual aesthetics. They were dialing in a signal, calling forth insight, calming the breath, anchoring the mind. They didn't believe in energy. They worked with it. They weren't just touching fingertips. They were linking intention to insight, sending signals through the nervous system, awakening stillness where there had been noise. Each gesture was a key, unlocking calm, presence, focus. But over time, we didn't just forget. We were reprogrammed. In a world built on tapping, swiping, scrolling, and grasping, our hands have become instruments of consumption. Once they opened portals, now they open APPS. The sacred has been replaced with the addictive, and yet the code remains. Beneath the noise of notification pings and endless scrolling, beneath the muscle memory of distraction, a quieter language still waits to be remembered. Pranam. Anjali, Apana, Shuni, Dhyana. Each mudra a tuning fork, each position a frequency. Some awaken clarity, others ground emotion, some invite peace, others summon courage. You don't need to subscribe to mysticism to feel their effect. Modern neuroscience is catching up to what the mystics always knew. The hands shape the mind. Gesture activates circuits. Posture rewires perception. The form you hold tells your nervous system what to believe. The body listens to the hand. The mind listens to the shape. This isn't superstition. It's a forgotten interface between consciousness and biology. And when you reclaim it, you stop using your hands by habit and begin using them as the sacred instruments they've always been. Your hands are not just the end of your arms. They are the extension of your field, where memory, intention, and energy converge. Every gesture you make carries a signal, and when made unconsciously, those signals scatter. They leak your presence. They dilute your power. But when you move with awareness, when your fingers follow intention, your hands become conductors of coherence. They don't just express energy, they shape it. There's a reason. Mystics, warriors, and sages throughout time used deliberate gestures, not for beauty, not for ritual alone. Because they worked. These hand codes, these shapes, they influence hormones. They anchor thoughts into the body. They restructure your electromagnetic field. We talk about manifestation as if it's all in the head. But thought, without alignment in the body, is just noise. Gesture is the bridge between imagination and embodiment. It's how thought becomes form. Your fingers are not random. Your palms are not passive. And the space between your hands, it isn't empty. It's alive. And when you learn to shape that space, you stop outsourcing your clarity. You stop waiting. You start forming. You begin channeling intention into motion. Because your hands were never meant to be idle. They were meant to create the world you remember belongs to you. Every time you move your hands, you're speaking, not with words, but with energy. Your body, your mind, and the field around you are always listening. Each gesture broadcasts a signal. The problem? No one taught you the language. You've been transmitting energy all your life without knowing what you were saying. When a yogi forms a mudra, it's not aesthetic, it's circuitry. The fingers become conduits, linking the body's electrical intelligence to intention. You are not just biology, you are electricity in motion. Consciousness shaped through form, and your hands are the regulators. In chaos, they generate anxiety. In alignment, they restore calm, clarity, and magnetism. Spiritual traditions have always known this. In prayer, sujud, or silent meditation, the hands lead. Palms lifted, fingers folded, hand to heart. Each gesture declares a state. Surrender, devotion, clarity, receptivity. Even outside ritual, your hands speak. A handshake, a wave, a hand to the chest. These motions still carry meaning, but stripped of intention, they lose power. Awareness faded. Ritual became routine. And in that gap, energy leaks. Look at your day. Swiping, clenching, tapping, fidgeting. Not from choice, but from conditioning. Your hands were trained for consumption, not connection. Output, not presence. Movements, once sacred, are now mechanical. The ancients weren't performing. They were engineering energy. Their gestures were codes. Thumb to ring finger activated prana. Palms down grounded the system. Each form linked breath, thought, and emotion to the body. Even without belief, your hands still transmit. The circuit doesn't wait for permission. It responds to awareness. And when you're not directing it, something else is. Unconscious gestures feed unconscious states. You leak energy, absorb noise, reinforce patterns that aren't even yours. It's not a flaw. It's a signal, escaping through hands that were meant to shape, not react. But the moment you choose movement with intention, you shift the signal. You stop leaking. You start transmitting coherence. And coherence is magnetic. You are the signal. The circuit is always on. The question is, are you directing it? There's a reason the number 3 repeats through sacred teachings. Pyramids, trinities, mind, body, spirit. It's not symbolism, it's structure. The law of 3. Creation, transformation, manifestation. 3 planes, 1 current. Power lives in alignment. When thought, gesture, and spirit converge, the mind directs, the body shapes, the spirit fuels, and the hands bridge them. That's why mudras matter. They're not ornamental, they're mechanical. A thumb to a fingertip isn't a pose, it's a command. Focus, breathe, return. But when mind, body, and spirit are out of sync, when thought says yes, the body says no, and the spirit is silent, energy fragments, and fragmented energy can't shape reality. It short-circuits before it forms. You've seen it. Words that don't match body language, smiles hiding tension, hands betraying what lips won't say. These contradictions scramble the signal. The universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you transmit. That's why ancient teachings stressed congruence, not just thinking truth, but embodying it. Your hands reveal whether you're aligned or not. Aligned hands don't just follow intention, they anchor it. They translate desire into form. Picture it, a peaceful thought, a slowing breath, fingers forming a mudra of receptivity. You don't just hold the shape holds you. The nervous system softens, awareness sharpens, and the space around you shifts. That's not magic, that's coherence. And coherence is power, not over others, but over distortion and distraction. Because fragmented people are easy to control, but aligned ones, they don't chase, they attract. They don't react, they create. And that kind of sovereignty doesn't begin on a mountain. It begins in one small act of remembering what you do with your hands. Most people don't fail to manifest because they lack desire. They fail because their energy is divided. The mind reaches forward, while the body holds back. Words speak of dreams, but gestures reveal doubt. This subtle misalignment scrambles the signal. And often, it's the hands that expose the contradiction, broadcasting a frequency that doesn't match what the soul is asking for. You may reach for something with intention, but if your fingers hesitate or fidget with distraction, resistance leaks through. When gestures come from habit rather than awareness, they become noisy, unclear, and easy to hijack. You cannot speak power while your hands tremble with doubt. You cannot embody clarity while your body avoids presence. Manifestation is not powered by thought alone. It's powered by coherence. And the hands are often the first to reveal whether that coherence is real or imagined. Your hands don't just follow thought. They amplify it, distort it, or ground it. Most people gesture in ways that contradict their spoken intentions. They talk about peace while gripping with tension. They say they're ready for change, but their body stays in defense. This is why intention isn't a wish or a note on a mirror. It's a frequency, a transmission that must flow through the mind, nervous system, breath, and body, including your hands, Ancient traditions understood this deeply in prayer, meditation, and ritual. Hand placement was intentional. Every movement carried meaning, because how you move shapes what you broadcast. The universe doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you embody. Form shapes energy. Movement creates vibration. Posture speaks louder than affirmation. You can say, "I'm ready," all day. But if your body doesn't believe it, the message won't land. Try it. Open your hands, palms facing upward. Feel the shift, a softening, a physiological state of receptivity. Now turn them downward. Feel the grounding. Now press them together at the heart. Across cultures, this gesture has endured not for its beauty, but its power, signaling unity, reverence, and peace, not just to others, but to your own field. These aren't decorative poses. They're energetic signatures that shape your electromagnetic field, the same field that filters what you notice and what passes you by. When you eat, speak, or reach towards someone, your energy moves through your hands first. They're your primary interface with the world, the first to reach, to defend, to connect. When used unconsciously, they create contradiction, and contradiction breeds chaos. It's the gap between what you say and what your body reveals. Saying you're at peace while your shoulders brace for impact. Sitting in meditation while your hands are curled with tension. The universe isn't confused, you are. And your energy, expressed through breath, posture, and especially your hands, is giving the instructions. So even when you set intentions and visualize change, nothing shifts. Not because you lack desire, but because you haven't embodied readiness. You say you're open, but your hands stay closed. You speak of clarity, but your gestures repeat old hesitation. The system isn't aligned, and the signal gets lost. Pause and ask yourself, where are your hands when you speak your truth? Are they grounded, relaxed, intentional, or are they echoing an unspoken belief that contradicts what you claim to want? Because words alone don't create change. The body carries the message, and the hands seal it. You don't manifest what you hope for. You manifest what your whole system agrees on, what your breath supports, what your body affirms, and what your hands express, without even thinking. The real work isn't just thinking differently, it's moving differently, gesturing with presence, choosing the shape of your intention, because every movement is a message, and the field is always listening. From the moment you entered a classroom, your hands were placed under control. Sit still, don't touch, keep them folded. You were told this was discipline, but it was actually disconnection. You weren't taught to harness your energy. You were trained to suppress it. Every curious gesture was halted, every instinct to reach stilled. You learned to raise a hand to speak, and use the other only to take notes. Always responding, never creating. Always contained, never channeling. It wasn't etiquette, it was energetic conditioning. The system wasn't designed to activate your inner knowing, but to instill silence, not just in sound, but in signal. By the time you were old enough to question it, your hands had already learned obedience. What once reached in wonder became the hand that filled forms and typed passwords. Productive, but no longer perceptive. The hand that could channel truth was reduced to output, and just as the classroom trained your stillness, technology picked up where the desk left off. Now the rhythm is tap, swipe, scroll, repeat. What once opened portals now opens APPs. Sacred gestures became reaction loops. Your hands, once instruments of intention, became tools of distraction. not just losing touch with the world, but with your own energy. This disconnection isn't accidental, and it isn't only physical. What's been lost is the inner sensation of being present, connected to breath, grounded in body, aware of self. People now touch glass more than they touch earth, reach for screens more than for stillness. They move their hands all day, yet rarely place one on their chest and simply listen. And still they wonder why they feel numb, anxious, and untethered. But this isn't a flaw, it's a symptom. You were never meant to live from the neck up. The mind was never meant to carry everything. The body was made to participate, the breath to regulate, the hands to guide. They were designed to anchor you, to break the mental spiral and return you to the moment. When you lose touch with your hands, you lose access to presence, and without presence, even peace feels out of reach. That kind of embodied awareness is disruptive, not to you, but to the system. Because when you're aware of your energy, you stop being programmable. You stop reacting on cue. You start noticing when something isn't right, even if everything around you says it is. Awareness breaks the loop, and loops are what the system depends on. So it keeps you moving through noise, notifications, and constant input. It makes stillness feel unnatural and productivity feel like worth. And meanwhile, your hands fall into unconscious rhythm. Grip, tap, scroll, refresh. You think you're relaxing, but your fingers are still searching. You think you're resting, but your nervous system stays on guard. This isn't rest. It's distraction wearing a calmer face. The truth is, your hands are always sending signals. When those signals lack awareness, they create static, a background hum that clouds your field. It's hard to hear your intuition when your fingers are constantly reaching for something external. Those movements are not neutral. They drown out the inner voice. But this disconnection wasn't your origin. It was your training. You were conditioned to override your knowing, to doubt your sensitivity, to forget what you were born with. Which means you can also remember. You can unlearn the noise and reawaken the signal. The first step is simple: a moment of stillness, a breath, a hand on the heart. Not as performance, but as portal, a way back to yourself. Because every gesture is a decision, every posture is a quiet program, every touch, a transmission of belief, whether you're aware of it or not. So ask yourself, whose rhythm are your hands following? Yours, or the one the world imposed? You'll know in the pause. When you bring your palms together, not as habit, but with intention. Let your breath catch up. Let your nervous system exhale. That's when the old noise begins to dissolve. That's when the forgotten programming loosens its grip. And in the silence that follows, your power returns. Not something given, something that was always yours, simply waiting for you to come back into your hands. Long before you spoke, your body was already fluent. It reached before it reasoned. It pulled back from discomfort not out of thought, but instinct. These were not random movements. They were your first language: energy, sensation, and intuition. Your nervous system spoke through your hands, and they understood without needing permission or explanation. Over time, that language was replaced. Systems and scripts taught you to follow rules instead of instincts, to seek approval instead of trusting your inner knowing. You learned to trade presence for performance. But while you forgot, your hands didn't. They've been quietly waiting to speak again. You were taught to equate worth with productivity, to value doing over feeling. And now, Many live entirely in their heads, trying to solve problems the body already knows how to address. They chase answers through thought, while the body's quiet signals go ignored. Stress, irritation, and restlessness are often misread. In truth, they are not problems. They are invitations to listen. Reconnecting with the hands is not about appearance or performance. It's about accessing the part of you that has been tracking everything all along, the intelligence beneath the noise. When the body is allowed to speak again and the hands are allowed to listen, you begin to move in alignment with a deeper truth. You've always had an inner knowing that alerts you before logic does. That knowing speaks through the body. Start simply. Pause and observe your hands. Are they clenched, twitching, restless, or open and still? These signals matter. They reflect how safe you feel, how much you're holding, and whether you're aligned. They are not decoration. They are direction. A hand on the heart doesn't need explanation. The body understands it as safety, not because it's told, but because that gesture is etched through generations of ritual and memory. It's biology meeting spirit. When you reconnect with that knowing, you reclaim your sensitivity, not as weakness, but as deep, intuitive strength. The more attuned you become to your own signals, the less you fall prey to urgency that isn't yours, or to conflict that doesn't belong to you. You begin to move by instinct, not reaction. Before the world tells you what's logical or strategic, you already feel what's aligned. And that signal often begins in the body, in your hands. Intuition isn't just a voice in your head. It's physical. It shows up in the hesitation before you touch something that feels wrong, in the pause, before a handshake you don't want to offer, in the warmth of your palms when you speak your truth, or the chill after saying something that doesn't belong to you. Your hands register alignment before the mind catches up. The only thing blocking that knowing is the habit of overriding it, the assumption that intelligence lives only in thought. But your hands have always been wise, not just tools, but messengers. They communicate what your voice can't yet say. When you reconnect with them, clarity returns, and with it, direction. Not from another method or mentor, but from the part of you that's been whispering all along, in every ache, hesitation, and breath. This isn't something you have to search for. It's already here, in your breath, your body, and your hands, waiting not for permission, only for your presence. You don't need a monastery, a mantra, or a mountaintop to shift your life. What you need is a practice, a ritual that brings you back to yourself through the smallest, most consistent moments. Because whether you realize it or not, you're already living by rituals. The way your hand reaches for your phone before your eyes open. The way your fingers grasp caffeine before breath. The way your thumb scrolls, searching for something unnamed. These are rituals, unconscious ones, shaping your field through repetition. But once you bring awareness to those motions, you begin to rewrite the signal. Rituals don't need incense or ceremony. They need choice. Every action teaches your energy who you believe you are. And when you move from intention instead of compulsion, everything begins to align. Your presence sharpens. Your energy stabilizes. Not from effort, but from consistency. A few breaths, a simple gesture, a quiet daily declaration. This is who I am becoming. Certain hand positions have been passed down through yogis, mystics, and healers, not as superstition, but as energetic circuits. When combined with breath and honesty, they become keys that reset the field. One of the simplest? The gesture of receiving. Palms open, fingers soft, facing upward on your lap or at your sides. It signals to the body, you are safe. You can soften. You can allow. You cannot receive with clenched hands. But open hands don't mean passivity. They mean readiness. They say, I'm here, I'm clear, I'm no longer holding fear. When it's time to ground, to build or stabilize, comes the gesture of creation. Palms facing downward, on your lap, the floor, or extended forward. This is quiet structure, a command to return, to gather, to steady. It reminds the system, you're not lost, you're just ungrounded. And grounding isn't about control, it's about coherence. Then there is unification, Anjali Mudra, palms pressed at the heart. A universal shape of prayer, reverence, and balance. It merges dualities, left and right, giving and receiving, thought and feeling. In that moment, energy converges, not grasping, not reaching, just centered. It's not performance, it's integration. And even if you don't know the name or origin, the effect is real. Your nervous system remembers. You don't need to memorize techniques. You don't need to get it perfect. You only need to begin, choosing presence over reaction, stillness over stimulation, intention over automation. A hand placed in the morning, a breath anchored in the evening. Tiny rituals, sacred repetition, not to impress anyone, but to remind yourself. Your energy is not random, it is programmable, and you are the one writing the code. Energy is never neutral. It's always moving, shaping or being shaped. And if you don't direct it, something else will. The world is full of subtle extractions. The feed you scroll, the alerts you check before you've even taken a breath. Each one pulling on your field. The cost? Your energy. And the most dangerous part, you often don't even realize it's happening. Disconnection becomes routine, but your body knows, your field knows, and your hands, they know too. Neglect doesn't erase your energy field, it opens it. What fills the gap isn't what's true, it's what's loud, urgent, and nearby. You stop choosing and start reacting. You carry emotions that aren't yours, echo thoughts you didn't originate, and respond to demands never meant for you. This is the price of energetic passivity. And all the while, your hands, once instruments of intention, move from habit, not awareness. You match rhythms not chosen by you. You reach for the phone before you've even exhaled. You scroll, grip, type through tension. These aren't just habits, they're silent agreements. They shape your state, program your frequency, and define what you're available for and what you're not. The system depends on that. It thrives on scattered attention and untethered presence. When you're disconnected from your own rhythm, you're easier to steer. It doesn't need force, only enough noise to keep you from noticing you've surrendered. That's the real danger, not control, but unconscious compliance disguised as choice. But what if you began to take your gestures back? What if every open palm was a signal of awareness? What if every time your hands met at your heart, it wasn't performance, it was return? That's what conscious gesture is. A quiet declaration that says, I remember who I am. I know what I'm calling in. Because energy follows leadership, but only when you're the one leading. And in this moment, in this world, passivity is no longer an option. Energy is the new currency. Clarity is the new revolution. Those who learn to direct it will shape what comes next. Everyone else will be carried by someone else's momentum. Your hands are either tools of creation or conduits of control. You decide. Doing nothing is still a decision. So ask yourself, how long will you leak energy into systems that were never built for your becoming. Because the moment you choose differently, when your movements align with truth and your presence becomes intentional, your reality shifts. Subtly at first, then unmistakably. You stop reacting. You start sculpting. And that quiet shift, that's where true power begins. You were taught that power lies somewhere outside of you, in titles, paychecks, or performance. That if you follow the rules and meet expectations, maybe you'll feel worthy. But that was never power. That was approval, disguised as success. Real power has always been with you, in your body, your breath, your awareness, and most of all, your hands. Your hands aren't just tools for action. They're where the unseen becomes real, where intention becomes form. They are the edge of your nervous system and the beginning of creation. Every truth you've written, every boundary you've held, every moment of care or resistance, they all pass through your hands. And yet most people never realize what their hands truly are. Conductors, transmitters, mirrors of the inner world. When thought, speech, and action align, the hands radiate coherence, and coherence attracts, not by force, but by frequency. This isn't about luck, it's about signal. When you stop broadcasting confusion and start embodying clarity, life meets you where you are. You shift from reaction to creation, from survival to shaping reality. You don't need more rituals, you need presence. One conscious gesture, done with sincerity, is more powerful than hours of performance. When you press your palms together and take a breath, something realigns. Not because you're performing, but because you're remembering. Gesture is language. Ritual is remembrance. When spoken fluently, even in silence, that language changes everything. You're not here to escape life. You're here to embody it. Your hands are the bridge between the unseen and the seen, intention and action. A touch to the heart creates coherence. Open hands invite readiness. Each intentional movement rewrites memory and reclaims your signal from a world of static. And it doesn't end with you. Your presence gives permission to others to return to theirs. Without saying a word, you remind them. Your energy is yours. Your body is wise. Your presence is enough. This is more than posture or breath work. It's sovereignty, a return to the part of you that was never broken or lost, only waiting to be reawakened. You are the revolution, and it begins with the smallest gesture of remembrance. There is a part of you, older than fear, deeper than doubt, that knows how to move energy, speak truth, and build without permission. If your breath slowed, or your body nodded along, then you already feel it. Something ancient is waking up, not something new to learn, something to remember. This isn't a call to imitate, it's an invitation to reclaim, to bring this knowing into your gestures, your relationships, your work, to move your hands with presence, not for show, but as a return to yourself, not to be seen, but to remember who you are when no one's watching. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. And when your gestures begin to reflect that truth, your reality shifts, not slowly, but immediately. Because energy follows coherence. And once you live from alignment, you don't just walk a new path, you shape it. Now, we've explored how your hands can shape and direct energy, but there's an even deeper understanding waiting to be uncovered. What if you could understand the hidden signs that reveal how many lives your soul has lived? What if your unexplained feelings, talents, and even fears weren't random, but echoes from your past incarnations? Click on the video appearing on screen right now to discover the 13 signs that reveal how many lives you've lived. Because once you understand your soul's journey, you'll finally understand why you feel so different from everyone else.